it used to be I had a really bad time around February. Well, probably November to February, because a lot had happened with my father when I was young. It was he had ended up arrested, and I had been taken to foster care, and it was the last time I saw him. He committed suicide a couple months after that. About 6 months after that, he committed suicide. I never saw him again after the police took me from him. And it was always a very traumatic time in February when that had happened. And I would have anxiety, and I've talked about this before, all kinds of emotional memories. And but you know, I married my husband, my ex-husband, February 5th, and right in the midst of all of this trauma, and it was such an elation, a feeling of elation to do that it has kind of pretty much gotten rid of, if not completely, all that trauma, all that bad time I used to have in February. But unfortunately now it's moved to July, which is the anniversary of when he left. I got sick a week not this last week, the week before. I got sick, and my mind trying to think was like trying to wade through mud. It was like my thoughts were trying to wade through mud in my mind to get anywhere, and I just couldn't focus. I couldn't concentrate. I was couldn't figure out why, of course, because you know it's an emotional memory, the mind, but I did remember eventually what had happened and what time of year it was, and why I felt that way, and I just am still kind of, I couldn't sleep. I've caught up on my sleep this weekend. I must have slept half, like 12 hours in the last 24. I'm wondering, I'm going to have to get a lot of sleep. I know that if I can. This week, because Friday of this week, it's Sunday. Friday is the 4th of July, and Thursday is probably going to be a bad day. That night, actually, when the anniversary of when it was like the bottom dropped out of my world. It was a complete surprise. Excuse me. It was a complete surprise, and it was when people talk about being gut kicked. That's how it felt. And I'm not over it yet, in case you hadn't noticed. People are like, you've got to move on. I'm like, you don't understand. I loved him for over 20 years. You don't get over something like that in a year, 2 years. You just don't. It could take 20 years to get over loving someone for 20 years. I want to just scream at them, you're nuts, you're nuts, you're all nuts. Do I live in a soap opera? No! These people would be horrified to realize that, I was in denial for decades, a long time, about loving him. I knew that I loved him. I just knew I couldn't be with him, which turns out to be true. But so I tried desperately and frantically to love other people, to find somebody else. I tried for decades to do that, and it never worked. It never worked because the truth is, the down to the bottom of the barrel, just to the core, the truth is, when you just get to the bare naked truth of it, I love him, and I always did, and it was no use trying to love somebody else. Okay, not anything against anybody else. Other people can be valuable, other people can be interesting, other people can be attractive, but I love who I love, and I accepted that. Okay, I finally just accepted that, and with that came a peace, just a calmness, just a relief, and that's that. Talking about February, they had a film for teens, which I went to, which I guess I wasn't supposed to because they put teens only on the last teen film that they had. Hurt my feelings, actually. I was rejected again. But I went to see, what kind of films they had for the teens, and of course, it's a love story. It was February for Valentine's Day, and it was really weird because I watched the whole film and watched these people falling in love, but I didn't see that. I was into, a different aspect of the film, a more, what would you call, clinical aspect of it, kind of like CSI. I was into a more scientific aspect of it, and finally, though, toward the end of the film, they kissed. They'd kissed before, but this kiss, there was something about this kiss that I got it. All of a sudden, it just hit me. What most people watching that film were vicariously living or were getting from it, what most people watching that film would see. And I remembered what it was like to fall in love, and I remembered what it was like to be in love, and I remembered what it was like to have that yearning for that special person, to have the elation of finding that special person, and I realized that I had not thought that way or felt that way for years, and that was such a, it was a remembering. It was really weird. I can't explain it. It was like my life had been drabs, like a, I can say manic depressive, a bipolar disordered person on lithium. They, the highs are gone, the lows are gone, they're just flat. And your life is flat and calm, and the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs, they're gone. And I remembered that high of being in love, of experiencing that love with that person that you love, and how gray and flat my life was by comparison. I still had fun, and I'd enjoyed festivals in the park, and not festival. Well, yeah, I went to festival in the park actually, and I'd enjoyed all kinds of cultural things, and eating out in new foods and new restaurants, and in meeting new people, and I had enjoyed all those things. But come on, there's nothing like being in love. Like experiencing that feeling that when you see the person, that special person, you may have been having a great day at work or something, but when you see them, it just kicks it into high gear. It's another plane of existence, and I had not been on that plane. The person that does that for me is gone. And I can't make anybody else do that for me. Nobody else does. And that is my life. I am going to have to learn to live without that, and I know it can be done. Lots of people have done that, and I know that they found things. I'm not saying there's nothing as good as that. I'm just saying there's nothing like it.